welcome back to Waste Some Time with Jason Green. I am Jason Green. Sorry, we got a little late start today. Had some technical difficulties, literally. Actually, people usually say that and they're lying, but no, it's some technical nonsense. I say it all the time. I'm going to get myself a producer who can handle all this technical nonsense. Excuse me while I change my angle a little bit. Jesus. All this should have been worked out in the rehearsal. Anyway, this is going to be a good show, I think. I spent my day telling most of these stories to my friends, and so here I am telling them again. So think of that as that was the rehearsal, probably. We'll see. We'll see how much I get into, how much I don't get into. We'll see how long I stay. There's a lot of people here waiting. I'll tell you, this is the first time that I've been off the road for a while. We constantly have been traveling. One of the things that you don't see if you're not in this industry is that when you see a date on your calendar, it doesn't mean we're just playing one day. Well, the show might be one day, but it takes a day to get there, then the day of the show, the day to go home. So one date turns into three, and so on and so forth. And next thing you know, you're living on the road. And sometimes things come up where shows are added, events are added, and you have even more to do and you're not home. And it gets crazy. And I can tell you the last few nights, I wake up constantly and look at my phone to see what time it is because I don't want to miss lobby call. And I feel like I'm supposed to be sending a text message and making sure I alert the drivers and the band and let them know. And then I realize I'm home. So it is sort of you have a shock. I don't know what the term I'm looking for is. But so the last places I was in Utah for a thing called the 80s Invasion. And the lineup for 80s Invasion was Vixen, Slaughter, Quiet Riot, Great White, Stephen Pearcy. From there, we went to Cottonwood, Arizona. And then all of a sudden, there was a last-second appearance that Stephen had to do in New Jersey, Secaucus to be exact. And it was just Stephen performing with a house band at a tattoo convention for Mario Barth. It was called the Inked Out Tattoo Convention. The house band was Brent Fitz, Brent Woods, and Todd Kearns. The special guests for the night were Tame Me Down, a Faster Pussycat, Phil Lewis of ALA Guns, and Sebastian Bach, the original voice of Skid Row, and Stephen Pearcy. And so we literally were just on planes nonstop. It was exhausting. This is a week after we had already been stranded in New York on the East Coast, stuck for 2 days because of Delta's horrible cancellations. So you're asking yourself, what makes it interesting about all these names I just dropped? Well, two of the people I hadn't spoke to in a long time. Those of you who are longtime viewers of the show also may know that some of those people and I were not on the best terms. If you read the description, the name of the show is Burying the Hatchet. Did I bury the hatchet? Did I find peace with people that at times I may have said awful things about? Could there have been a treaty of peace, or was it more of the same? These are the things that you tuned in today for, I hope, and we're going to get to that right after this. Just wanna waste some time with you. Sometimes it seems too good to be true. Nobody out there to waste time with you. All right, excuse me. All right, let's talk, and we'll do that. A lot of people watching. Secaucus is where they used to do the Morton Downey Jr. show. That is correct. WOR Studios, Channel 9 were there. I believe it is also where they did the Howard Stern Channel 9 show, Secaucus, New Jersey. So thank you, Cecil or Cecil, as the case may be. I'm taking a look at everything. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, and look at that. It's nice to see Lorraine. He's here. Lorraine has been to more Stephen Piercy shows than anyone I could think of, and it's very nice. Okay, so a lot people watching. I'll try to double back and get into these, but for right now, it's story time. I'll tell you some stories, and if you like them, you'll stay tuned. And if you don't like them, then I'm sure there's something else to watch right now. And then if you really, if your comment is really really important, of course you'll super chat, and I will break into my speech to share it. So, by the way, a few things to get out of the way. Comments. People say dumb stuff. One guy told me in my comments, he didn't have the guts to tell me in my face, but he said, "Oh, enough with the eyeliner. I'm out of here." Right? Or he can't take it or something. Anyway, so I said bye, and we moved on. Uh, I like to wear eyeliner because I think it makes my eyes pop. I also like that it bothers people. There's something about that that entertains me. If someone says they won't watch the show because I'm wearing eyeliner, well, they're probably uptight, homophobic, or some kind of weird, feared thing. I don't know. So I was so tired today. I wasn't going to put it on, but then I remembered that people are assholes, and and therefore here I am putting it on. Robin Bird show. Sean, that I don't believe so. That was filmed in Manhattan. That was a public access show, a channel called J. I met Robin Bird. I had a nice talk with her. Robin Bird was a big part of my youth, as many growing up in New York City. Robin Bird show, Channel J. So if you don't know this, in the old days, you kids take note. The TV dial went from 2 until 13, and then it would go to letters A through Z. I know it's ridiculous. And Channel J would have nudie cuties, if you will, at night. Robin Bird was the Johnny Carson of the adult industry. She would have a guest come on, and they would sing a song. Excuse me, they would dance first. They would dance. And it was a strip tease. They were usually in town promoting an appearance they were doing at a place called Show World Center on 42nd Street. And so they would come on and they would do their little dance. And then they would sit down with Robin, who was wearing a very revealing outfit. And then they would do an interview. They would have a talk. She was like the Regis and Kathy Lee of vagina, you know. So they would have a nice talk. And then at the end, the guests, sometimes be several, would perform together during Robin's big song, which was called Baby, Let Me Bang Your Box. Obviously, it was about a piano. And they would all dance, and it was sort of fun. And this was free. And if you didn't have cable, it had the squiggly lines, and you had to try to look through for a boob. Big part of life was making sure your parents didn't find out you were watching Channel J. I remember seeing Christy Canyon, who was a good friend of mine, now on that show. Who knew years later that we would be such good friends? But that was filmed in Manhattan, and I hope that story didn't bore you, but I appreciate it. Georgia seems to enjoy my my eyeliner, and that's what's good. And no music, no life as well. So look at that. We do what we want. Yes, and we're having a little fun. Okay. Yes. Uh-huh. 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 Yes. And yes. And I don't know if it's Maybelline, but maybe. Let's see. All right, let's get back to stories. I gave you a little. It's very easy to get me sidetracked, as you may or may not know. And to be honest, you really just want to hear about Phil Lewis and I, and whether or not it ended badly. Uh, okay, back to the stories. So anyway, let's start with Utah. We went out to Utah, and can't even remember the hotel in Utah. I think it was all right, and we it was a long day. We flew in, and I think that was we flew in. Oh, I know what happened. I know what happened. The band got there the day before, but because of the delays, because Johnny, Christy, Stephen, and myself had the delays, we were not able to fly right to Utah. So we came home for about 8 hours. And I did some laundry, repacked, and then we went straight to Utah. Met up with the band who had done sound check, and then Johnny and I went to the venue and spent the day. It was a rodeo style place, with outdoors, and there was pens and kennels, and I don't know. I'm against anything to do with the rodeo. It's all a bunch of shit. But it was there at some point. It's a fair. It's the Utah State Fair, and the day before Steve Miller of the Steve Miller Band played there. So it's so just so you can see, it's a reputable place. We stayed the whole day there, and they do these security briefings. I don't usually go. My role with Stephen Piercy is a little different than these other tour managers. I have my job and I do it my way. But I went to the security briefing, and these other tour managers, they're very nice guys, but they're also very particular. I almost laugh at how particular they are, but that's how it goes. Did I miss a super chat? I see it on my TV screen. Oh, there it is. Hold on. AZ, thank you so much. Very kind of you. Will you be Sep's best man at his wedding? I don't think so. But if he's watching, we can ask him. I don't know who would be qualified for that job. It's a good question. I better start auditioning, or putting in a good word, so to speak. I will get to all your comments, and we'll talk about kicks and everything else that you're asking about. Right now, there are over 222 people watching. So Utah. So anyway, we had the security meeting, all these other things. Everybody takes their job incredibly serious and almost ridiculous at times. Vixen played. I had a very nice talk with Lorraine Lewis. She will be here soon, and she's just great. We really we were in the catering, and we just talked and talked and talked like two school kids. And she'll be here. I almost did the entire interview in catering, and I said, "Why are we giving this away?" So Lorraine's going to be here. She was in a band called Femme Fatale, and she's the current singer for Vixen. Roxy and I also spoke. She's going to be here, and so anyway, you got that to look forward to. And I should point out, for those of you who said you wanted to be a member of my Patreon, now is the day, and I'm going to tell you why is the day to sign up. We added a few more tiers. It was sold out for a little while. We added a few more. Tonight, if you've missed tour diaries, you're going to get a tour diary sent directly to your email. So if you're a member of my Patreon, it's coming. And if you're not, now's a good time to go sign up. Link is in the description. If you're a YouTube member, I appreciate you as well. After the Patreons watch, then it'll go to you guys. I have been editing tour diaries every day. They're going to be coming out fast and furious. And now that I'm home, interviews, fast and furious. Randy Jackson from Zebra will be here. Tammy Down from Faster Pussycat will be here. And many, many others. And if you sign up for the appropriate tier, you'll get to ask them a question. All right. So anyway, I saw Vixen. They were very good. After Vixen was Slaughter. I've seen Slaughter 10 million times. It's enjoyable. They're very good also. Got to catch up with Mark and Dana. And then The Quiet Riot. Talked about them on the show a lot, shown them a lot. Jizzy Pearl and Johnny Kelly, Alex Grassi, and the great Rudy Sarzo. Nothing seems to ever bum out Rudy Sarzo. That guy is such a pleasant person to be around. It's amazing when you meet somebody who's that cool, but he is definitely cool. So after Quiet Riot, the weather started getting rough. Tiny ship was tossed, not for the courage of the fearless crew. Minnow may have been lost, but the weather got bad, and we had to have a lightning briefing. There was lightning within 10 miles. There was thunder. There was Brit lightning as well. There was a Brit lightning storm. So we had to decide what was going to happen. Does the show get canceled? Great White agreed that there was supposed to be an opening in the forecast. You go into this room with all these very uptight people, nice people, but everyone's very serious, except for me. And they decided that there's going to be an opening. They said, would you play if there's the lightning is within 3 miles at least? We seemed to think that was okay. Great White cut their set short. Stephen cut his set short. Stephen was the headliner. He played maybe an hour. Great White did about 40 minutes. Those other bands did 30, 40. Everyone was great, and the show did go on. We did get out there. The boys put on a great performance, and we went back to our rooms. Had got some rest. I had some diabetic issues, unfortunately, up and down. I'm working very hard on it. This country is a joke when it comes to healthcare. That's enough for another show, but it is. And the airline industries are bailed out constantly. Billions of dollars go to bad airlines that have no idea what they're doing, and delays and ripping people off constantly. But yet, if you want insulin or chemotherapy or something that matters, that may save your life, good luck. Anyway, I just thought I'd get that out of the way. Sorry if I'm on a rant. There is a drug problem in Utah. It's a drug problem in a lot of places, but Utah is particularly there's a thing going around where you see these people twitching and shaking, and that's a new drug there. I can't remember the name of it, but it looked bad. And all of a sudden, we're driving, and on almost every block, there's people freaking out. It looked like Night of the Living Dead. It was really insane, and I'm sure there's a drug problem in most of this country, but there's something going on in that in Utah. Then we flew the next day, and I sat with Scott Coogan. Scott Coogan sat at the window, and I sat on the aisle, and a lovely young lady sat between us. Can't remember her name off the top of my head. She's in the tour diary, though. I filmed her. She was very funny. To sit between me and Scott Coogan, you've got to have a thick skin. She has a channel. She's an influencer. I was a little bummed she has more subscribers than me. And she's better looking than me. She's a 4'10" power lifter. Oh, I know her name. It's Kennedy, but it's spelled Kenadi, Kennedy. And when the tour diary comes out, I'll link her channel. But we had an entertaining conversation. And then when we landed, we had to go by car, 2 hours or so to the hotel. It was an interesting hotel. When you see this tour diary, you'll see what I mean. Me, Matt, and Johnny got into hijinks. I don't want to say too much, but Johnny may or may not have gotten into some hot water or coffee at Starbucks. If you watch the show, you know Johnny often talks about how he likes a splash of milk in his coffee. Not a lot, not a ton, just a splash. And sometimes they make it wrong and they have to go back. Well, I will tell you that there was an issue. I wasn't there when it happened, but Johnny stormed into the Mexican restaurant that Eric, Matt, and I were at, and he was very hot, and he was on the phone with corporate at Starbucks to report this young person who was rude to him and fought over his the making of his splash of in coffee. And one day Johnny will tell you the story, but. And I will say that the next day, Johnny told me, I'm going back to the Starbucks. I couldn't believe it. I said, well, I'll go with you. I was just going to go to keep him company. And there was an incident, another incident. I captured it all on video for posterity, and you will see it in the tour diary when it gets there. So good time to sign up for Patreon because you'll get to watch it first. You know you want to see Johnny have a issue at the Starbucks. So anyway, it was interesting. They did sell Universal Monster lottery tickets. By the way, if they have Universal Monster lottery tickets in your state, make sure you get some for me. Las Vegas, Nevada, I should say, doesn't have lottery. We have every other fakakta gambling, but no lottery. California has it, and Arizona has it. So I'm collecting these. Universal Monster lottery tickets, and there will be a show where I scratch them off. I'm thankful for all the people who are members in the chat, and I'm also thankful for anyone who's watching. I know you're all here to hear these stories, and we're getting there. We're moving in order or in stereo. So the show in Utah, we went through. I forgot to tell you that we flew to Cottonwood, Arizona. All these stories. The Starbucks took place in Cottonwood, Arizona. It's a small town. The concert was on in a park. It was Riverfront Park, which is located next to Horsehead Park or Dead Horse Park. And when we first got there, they explained to us that they had these things called, oh God. If Matt was watching, he's an expert on this now. Matt is a wildlife expert. He learns everywhere we go. They were like a hawk, tarantula hawks, and they land on top of tarantulas, these little birds. They're not birds. I'm having a hard time today. These little flying insects. They land on top of the tarantula and then they kill it and then they lay their eggs on it so that the babies can eat. It's very disgusting, but we did see one of those. It was not a murder hornet, although we originally thought it was. Then we saw actual mountain lion prints, and we realized this is going to be an interesting show. Dressing room was a tent. It was a nice tent, though. But we were in the middle of nowhere. It was very dark. You had to walk because the cars couldn't get through the mud. It had just rained. They assured me that no wild animals would show up during the show. I didn't see any. They say they don't like rock music. Um, so anyway, it was probably the best set I've ever seen Stephen Pearcy's solo band play. New songs added to the set, Walking the Dog off the EP, Aerosmith song. Nobody Rides for Free, which is everyone's really enjoying. And The Morning After. And those were new additions. All your favorites were there as well. It's very difficult for Stephen to fit everything in. What a career that he has. And so anyway, that was great. And most importantly, Michelle was able to make that show. Her family live in Arizona. She came out, and it's always great when you have company visit you on the road, even if it's for a short amount of time. The next morning, the boys were all heading back to their comfy beds and homes, and Stephen and I were off to New Jersey. And we were on United Airlines, no Delta. And there was a delay. It wasn't that bad. When we landed in Newark, they couldn't get the door. There was no jetway, jet bridge, whatever you call it. So we all stood in the aisle for an hour while they waited for that. This was booked with no time to spare. We got off the plane at 7:30. Stephen was supposed to be on stage around 10. Things were moving. We got to this hotel. It was called the Harmony Suites. I had a lovely 2-bedroom suite. And I went to see some of my friends. My friend Lisa, who I've known since, I don't know, she's the little sister of one of my best friends growing up in New York. And so a few other people, Lorraine was there. I got to catch up with people. And then Eddie Trunk, who I know and I'm always happy to see. He was hosting this event. So I got to watch a little bit. And first up was Tame Me Down, a Faster Pussycat. He's so clean and sober and looking good and sounding good. And the band was great. Brent Woods, Brent Fitz, Todd Kearns. Now, Todd Kearns makes every band sound better. He's got an incredible voice. He sang the backups on Where There's a Whip, There's a Way. It's a girl part. And You're So Vain sang them perfectly. He really added a lot. Now, I'll tell you a little bit more because I hadn't spoke to Todd Kearns in probably 8 years. So we'll talk about that in a second. So he played first, then Phil Lewis played, who I also had some issues with. I'm going to explain all of this. It's going to take a minute, so maybe get comfortable. And then after that, Sebastian Bach came out. At that point, I had to go back to the hotel, get Stephen, get a car to bring us around the building, in through the back door. Stephen and I forgot to eat. We were out so long. They were nice enough to bring us some pizzas. I shared a pizza with Eddie Trunk, a slice. And the new thing is honey on pizza. And some people are really against it. This one pizza had a little tasty, spicy honey. It was very little. You barely knew it was there, but it had a kick. And you know what? I kind of enjoyed it. But I'm not a pizza snob. So that was all right. And then Sebastian played. Brent Woods is Sebastian's regular guitar player. Brent Woods will be on the show. We're just getting it straight. He's got some interesting stories. So Steve and I were in the dressing room with Tammy. Tammy is a sober. Stephen Pearcy and Tammy Down were the only two sober people that I know of that were there. And it was interesting because they were both quite the partiers back in the days in Hollywood. So we all had a nice talk, and Phil Lewis enters the room. Now here's where it gets interesting. I'm going to tell you right now, for the first time ever on this show or any show, why Phil Lewis and I had a fallout and why we weren't speaking. In 2005 or six, I was managing Brent Muscat's Faster Pussycat. Okay, that band featured Eric Stacy, the original bass player, Brent Muscat, the original guitar player, and Brett Bradshaw, who was the second drummer. May he rest in peace. He's no longer with us. He was the second drummer in Faster Pussycat on the Whipped album. He toured on the second album when Mark Michaels was arrested for shipping an illegal substance to himself, FedExing it to a hotel. So, and then in that same band, Todd Kearns sang and played guitar. I think I got everybody and Kurt Frolick, excuse me. Kurt Frolick did his best Tammy impression, who is currently the singer of Riley's LA Guns. This is all very incestuous. I managed it for a short time. Tammy sued, or he didn't even get to a suit. He threatened. Brent crumbled, and that was the end of that Faster Pussycat. At that point, Brent and I were thinking about ideas. I had a very successful video company that made movies in the 80s, and I was responsible for releasing them on DVD with bonus content, including interviews with some very legendary adult stars. We were throwing a party during the AVN convention, and it was my idea to put together a band to play my party. We'd done it once before at this place called Polyesters in the Stratosphere, and it was fun, and we didn't really have a name, but Brent Fitz was the drummer, and we tried it. And then I realized I was having some luck finding successful musicians. So we were going to try to do the Faster Pussycat thing without using the name at my party. At that time, Kurt Frolick didn't get along with Brent Muscat. He fired him from another band and said he wasn't going to do this show with him. When Todd Kearns told me I can sing all these songs. So we put together this party. The band was called Sin City All-Stars. The lineup for the night was Brent Fitz on drums, Todd Kearns on guitar and lead vocals, a guy named D on bass, who's just a local guy here in Vegas, talented guy from Canada, and Brent Muscat from Fast Pussycat. That was the band. I hired guests to appear. The host of the party was Ron Jeremy, the late Ron Jeremy. He was the host of AVN Awards. If you know what that is, you know what that is, the adult video news. And so the way it worked is we had guests up. This guy, Louis Merlino, came on, who used to sing for a band called Beggars and Thieves. He's a session singer with Desmond Child on many records. He's been on this show. If you want to go back and check it out, you can learn about him. And then after that, we brought up Jizzy Pearl. Some may call him the other voice of RATT. Now you can call him the new voice of Quiet Riot, or from Love Hate, as I best remember him. And then after that, the headlining guest for the night was Phil Lewis of LA Guns, and it was really fun, and we had a really good time. And so began this thing called Sin City Sinners, which lasted in some ways to this day. The pandemic sort of slowed it down. So what happened is Todd Kearns is the one who said we shouldn't call it Sin City All-Stars when there's really no all-stars in the band. The guests were, but other than Brent, most of the guys weren't known. And we came up with this thing called Sin City Sinners. And I was the manager, and I was learning on the job, and I started helping to book it for shows, and started to get it involved with a lot of my charity work. I've raised over $1 million for local charities. I am tooting my own horn. Toot toot. Where's my frog? Hold on. Coqui frog from Puerto Rico. Okay, all right. Listen. So I toot my horn. But anyway, and I would get the band to play these things. I wrote all the set lists. I booked all the guests. The gimmick was every week we would bring in another special guest. We had some amazing ones. Some of my favorites, Sylvain from the New York Dolls, Lemmy. No one else has ever booked Lemmy to show up and jam with a cover band. I did it. It was not easy, but I had a good relationship. We worked together on a movie called Romeo and Juliet, written, I wrote a draft, but really the James Gunn movie. And then every week we'd have somebody. And at the time, no one was really doing this kind of thing. Now every band tries to do this. Sin City Sinners was ahead of its time. When I heard Todd Kearns sing, I knew that he was probably the best rock star that America hadn't discovered yet. In Canada, people knew him. He was in a band called Age of Electric. People were fans. He had a solo record. He told me, my goal is to get my music heard here in America, and I did my best to help him with that. Sin City of Sinners made 5, 6 records that I was very involved with every single step of the way, production credits and things like that. But in 2010, Todd Kearns was asked to join Slash's band. We found out very abruptly. We actually found out on blabbermouth.net. That day, I said, who am I going to get to sing? I tried Eric Dover. I figured, well, if you're going to join Slash, I'll get the original singer for Slash. It didn't necessarily work. I love Eric Dover, and he's also been on this channel. So Todd was doing his best to juggle performing with Slash and coming back to play with Sin City Sinners. We found a guy named Zach Throne, who was an actor who was on a TV show called The Heights, How Do You Talk to an Angel? He was also on, that was on 90210. Sorry, he was on 90210. He was on Party of Five. He was an actor, and he happened to live in Canada for a while. Todd knew him, and he came in and filled in. You're wondering where this is all going. There is a point. So, and you're hearing interesting things in the meantime, stories I've never told. I will also tell you as we proceed, some of the things I cannot tell you due to legal reasons. I would tell you everything, but other people, some certain things have to be sworn to secrecy. So I see your questions. I would love to answer as many of them as I can. Got to give me some time to get through this. And we're now well over 300 people watching. So anyway, the Sin City Sinners, we were trying it, and guys would come and guys would go. And at one point in 2014, maybe, I had a bit of a fallout with Brent Muscat, who was sort of like my partner in the business, even though I pretty much did the majority of things, including his interviews. I would write his interviews for him. He did a tour diary for Metal Sludge. I wrote that too. I don't mean to sound harsh on Brent. He's welcome to come on the show. I'd love to chat with him. I don't think you'll see it happen. Some people aren't good at burying the hatchet or mending the fences. Not everyone's as cool, calm, and collective as I am. So anyway, in 2014, I said, well, if we're going to call this thing Sin City Sinners, let's make, and it was supposed to be all-stars, let's get a real all-star band. Let's stop dicking around with these people. And the band, and I think one of my favorite lineups, other than having Todd, would have been Jizzy Pearl on lead vocals, Scotty Griffin on bass, Rowan Robertson of Dio, and Oz Fox of Stryper on the guitars, and on the drums, Blas Elias from Slaughter. Blas and Oz are multi-platinum each. It was a great lineup. It was a great fun time. I think Vegas regrets, wishes that they had something like that. They don't have us to kick around anymore. So we kept bringing in guests, and one week George Lynch would be there, and the next week everybody. I can't even remember off the top of my head. Jeff LaBar from Cinderella, may he rest in peace. We constantly, and I never saw bands learn songs faster. It was great, and we really had a good time with it. And then I took a little break. There was some stuff that happened that I can't talk about. I will tell you that I still control the Sin City Sinners brand, and I could bring it back at any time. But other than that, I don't want to get too into it. But I did have, at that point, I had not spoke to Todd Kearns in many years. And it was a shame because I like him, and I think he's a talented person. And I thought that we were friends. It's a shame that when suddenly you're not speaking to someone that you thought you were friends with. Todd and I went to see so many cool shows. We went to see Sylvain and Cheetah Chrome play together, and we went to see Rich Springfield, all kinds of things. We had a lot in common. We like a lot of the same things. A lot of people accused me of ripping off my look from Todd Kearns. Not true. I had fake black hair long before I knew who Todd Kearns was. I played a bass long before I knew who Todd Kearns was. So, coincidence. I prefer to be compared to Snape from Harry Potter, as does Brent Fitz, who looks more like him than I. But we often get mistaken for each other. So, moving on. Now, Phil Lewis this is what went wrong with Phil Lewis. when we were doing the Sinners, I was doing a Toys for Tots charity benefit. I've done these every year. We've raised a lot of money. And I was eating at a restaurant in the Hard Rock called Mr. Lucky's. It's no longer there. Don't look for it. The restaurant or the Hard Rock. It's now the Virgin. And I saw Tracy Guns at the table across from me. I know Tracy Guns. And when I was kind of avoiding him. And at the end of the night, I said, I'm going to say hello. And then I said, you know what, Tracy, how come you don't come play with the Sin City Sinners? And he said, well, maybe I'll think about it or whatever. And I said, okay, he messaged me, he said, okay, I'll come in and be a guest. And that's when he told me, why don't we get Phil Lewis involved? He knew I knew Phil. He knew Scotty Griffin, who was in the band at the time, was also in LA Guns. It seemed like a very possible thing for me to put together. Called Phil, seemed interested, and we picked a great set list. And for that charity event, Phil and Tracy reunited and performed the first time in ages. I began the LA Guns reunion. If you Google it, you will see that they give me the credit for that because it's true. And it was interesting because Phil and Tracy had not really been around each other in a long time, and they both were dating much younger people, and they had to sort of introduce them and get used to each other. They were very good, and also because the band was very good. To be successful, you need to have a good band backing you up. And to have the guys that I had on stage that night were extremely talented. We had a keyboard player. LA Guns should always have 2 guitars, keyboards, to do it right. Now, listen, you're saving money these days. So I got those guys back together. Phil seemed to be happy. I didn't realize that they were going to give Steve Riley the boot. That's not my business. Steve and Tracy have issues. Phil went with Tracy, even though Steve Riley kept LA Guns afloat for many years. I think Phil knew that with the lead guitar player that they would have something more to offer. So they did it. And going down the road, I had an incident happen in my life that was very traumatic, very personal and very traumatic. And I posted something, maybe I was vague, and Phil was kind of rude about it. I'll go out and say that he was a jerk. And sometimes I think Phil Lewis has a big mouth. That's not something that I wouldn't say to his face. He can be a big mouth. If you read his interviews or listen to his interviews, he usually shoots his mouth off about people. And that's a great guest, by the way. And I don't think that Phil means to be a bad person anyway. He's actually mostly a very kind person. And I was really upset with what he said. Now, looking back, Phil didn't know what I was going through. And he was just meddling in other people's business. I didn't like what he said. And I had friends who didn't get along with Phil, including Scotty Griffin and others. And I kind of held a vendetta. And when I began this show, I made a point of saying rude and disparaging comments about Phil Lewis. With that said, Phil Lewis then went and said rude and disparaging things about me. A lot of things that weren't true. Everything I said about him was based on truth. But he did say things about me to Johnny Monaco. We talked about on the show, including that I'm addicted to drugs and that he could tell when he sees the show I'm on drugs. Now, the truth is I've never been on a illegal drug in my life. So he was incorrect about that. And anyone who knows me knows I'm actually pretty dull. But it seems strange. But listen, he was retaliating to what I said. I was retaliating to what he said. He said, she said, bullshit. When I thought about it, I thought, well, I'd like to squash this. I'd like to squash a lot of drama. I say this on the show all the time. Spoiler alert. Life is short, and there's one thing that's guaranteed. No one gets out alive. Having drama is really a terrible thing. We all snap sometimes. We all get mad. Although Rudy Sarzo and Blas Elias, I have a feeling, never get angry. And Matt Thorne. Those are 3 people that I don't think can get angry. But I wouldn't want to find out. But so at Christmas, we did an event for Chris Angel. Stephen appeared. It was Chris Angel's birthday party, but it was a charity Chris Angel had a child who had cancer, and he beat it, thankfully, and is strong. So Chris has a foundation. At that, it was right around Christmas. Phil had the guts to approach me. He extended his hand and he said, "Merry Christmas, mate." And I said, "Merry Christmas back." And I thought that was a big step for him. I wasn't going to do it. Sometimes the bigger man is the one who says, breaks the ice at least. He didn't say he's sorry, he just broke the ice. Uh, I believe in life, you're better off sometimes being phony um, than being a jerk to each other. It, there's people you're going to run into that aren't your favorite people. It's okay to say, "Hey, how you been?" I like that. There's people that I've had beef with over the years, and I see them. We go, "Hey," and that's it. Because who cares? Life is too short to hold grudges. So I wasn't so concerned that Phil and I would argue after that Merry Christmas exchange. Um, so after Phil played, Steven and I are in the dressing room, and Phil came in. And I felt comfortable saying, "How have you been?" Go right up to him. And we exchanged hugs, and everything was fine. Phil told me some really good stories. He told me and Tammy stories that I can't say. I wish I could. He said he felt safe telling us. This was really good gossip, but I won't do that here. So I thought that Phil was pleasant. I enjoyed talking to him, and it felt good. We took a picture together, and it's on my Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, you're missing out on a lot. JSIN_green, no E on the end of green, and link in the description. And we had a nice exchange. And you know what? I've known Phil for a while. I'm not going to say I was the guy's best friend, but I know him. I booked him for things. And Phil told Tammy how I reunited LA Guns, Phil and Tracy. He gave me the credit, which he has always done, and I respect that. And we did a charity once, Toys for Tots. We did a Friday, Saturday at the Hard Rock. Friday was Phil and Saturday was Tammy. So it was kind of fun to be around these people that I know. Then I thought, wow, that first Sinner show was Brent Fitz, Todd Kearns, and Phil Lewis. And I thought, here we are this many years later. My math is not strong enough, but I don't know. I don't know, 1,000 years ago. And so it was nice to sit there and chat. And Phil went back, and then Sebastian came in. I like Sebastian. I know people like to say bad things about him and things like that. I judge people on the way they treat me. Sebastian has always been kind to me. I was the age growing up where Sebastian was cool, to me, for as a fan even. Youth Gone Wild. I was young, and I liked Sebastian. I like Skid Row. I still do. And so we had a nice time catching up. I haven't seen him in a while. He invited me over, and so we got to hang out. Very nice. And then Steven and I got Steven in the car. We went back to the hotel and made sure everything was straight. And then I came back to hang out a little bit. The hotel and the venue, the convention center, were right next to each other. The Rutherford or whatever it's called, Meadowlands. I don't know. So and then I talked to Todd Kearns, which was more awkward than the Phil one, I thought. And it was fine. And it was like we had talked to each other yesterday. We were laughing. We were making fun of the same people we made fun of back then. We were sharing inside jokes that sometimes when you don't speak to someone for a long time, you wonder if they remember the same things you remember. Are they still laughing about that? You assume that everyone just forgets everything. But we picked up our conversation just like it was 2012 or whatever, all over again. And it was nice, and it was fun to catch up. Was there some bad blood? Sure. I'll point out that when that version of Faster Pussycat with Todd went out, Johnny Monaco was on the bill fronting Enough's Enough. So everyone kind of knows each other. As I said, it's very incestuous. And then Brent Fitz, Todd, and I walked back. I was the only non-Canadian, but at least I had long black hair. We walked back to the hotel, and we had a further nice conversation. I want Brent Fitz to come on this show. He doesn't really do interviews very much. And he told me he has nothing to promote. And if there's nothing to promote, why come on just to promote himself? He's a soft-spoken guy. He's had a very interesting career, and I'm hoping that when the time is right, maybe he will come on, and maybe we'll see more of him. So Obviously, everyone there, I extended the apple tree, olive branch, what would they say? Uh, would I love to have Todd Kearns and Phil Lewis on the show? Of course. I don't know. Maybe Phil would be up for it. Maybe I can invite him. I would like to explain to him what I just explained to you, that there was a misunderstanding. We did say, Phil and I did exchange with each other saying, who cares? It's all old news, you know. And as far as Todd Kearns goes, same thing. It was just like, and I said, listen, I was younger. He was younger, not as young as me, but you know, and people say things and do things and act in ways that they should that they may regret. And he said, yeah, even in relationships, and with age sometimes comes wisdom. And yes, life is short, and so I hope that this isn't disappointing to you. That as that I'm giving you such a honest and real moment. Yeah, I know people are thinking, well, I'm telling you life is short and telling you to mend fences and those kind of things. Uh, well, I'm no expert on any of these things, but it did work for me. The less enemies you have, the better. It would be nice to die one day and not, and right there on the deathbed or whatever, to go, you know what? I don't have all these grudges. So that's about as deep as I get. But I will tell you, it is nice. Could Phil come on to promote LA Guns? Sure. Listen, I'll tell him right now. I think that him and Tracy should put on the leather jackets, get the black hair, look like LA Guns. I think they should try to make up with Kelly Nichols at the very least. You know, at the very least, figure it out. You should take Steve Riley too. I think they've said some disparaging things about those guys and the quality of their playing. I don't stand for that. It bothers me. Those guys were part of creating the sound that you know. One of my arguments with these bands is when the scabs, if you will, start to mouth off and feel like it's their band when it's not. That's how I feel. Now, I would be a gentleman and respectful to Phil or Tracy at any time, but I think LA Guns could be better. And that's not to say I think Phil or Tracy are bad. I just think it could be better, and I think the audience deserves better. But we'll see if he will come on. And as far as Todd goes, I don't know. We'll see. He's got some interesting stories because of our friendship over the years and pause in it. We know a lot of the same kind of things. So anyway, that's a little bit of what happened. The next day, we all flew on a flight together, which was interesting. Not Tammy. Tammy and Brent Woods live in California, so they flew earlier, and then at 11:45, the van pulled up. I said, "I don't know these guys. Who's going to be the last one for lobby call?" Answer: Sebastian Bach. But me, Todd, Brent Fitz, Stephen Piercy, uh, and Sebastian. Oh, Phil and Sebastian. We took a ride. Look, there's a part of me, a young, that remembers the days when I would have thought I'm in a car with Stephen Piercy and Sebastian Bach and Phil Lewis. How cool! So we went to the airport. We had a delay in our flight, and I think I'm going to sneeze, but maybe not. Oh, maybe it's gone. And we had a nice time, and then we got on the plane and we had yet another delay. Somehow a plane broke down on the runway right in front of us, and we had to sit there for an hour. I got up to use the facilities, and as I looked over to me, I saw Sebastian, and the pilot said, "All right, I think we're got it all straight now. We're just about ready to rock and roll." And Sebastian, sitting there without missing a beat with his sunglasses on, said, he looked right at me and he said, "Dude, what did he say about rock and roll?" And I just laughed. Sebastian is as real a rock and roll guy as there is. He's funny. I know just some people only see the loud side of him. Uh, he has a wide knowledge of music, and he loves vinyl and all these things. And so I'm looking forward to seeing him again. And anyway, Steven and I flew home. We were exhausted, and I want to edit tour diaries. My channel is this is my livelihood. Steven's is too, but that's not every day. This is what I do, and this is why I appreciate all your super chats, although we've only had one today. And I appreciate everyone who watches. I appreciate everyone who subscribes. 350 people watching right now. Our subscribers are well over 15,000. The biggest compliment you can give me is go, I really enjoy your channel, and I can't understand why you don't have more. People say it all the time. Well, we should have more, and hopefully soon we will. We're closing in on 3 million views. I say we because we've done this together. A lot of you have been here since day one. Channel members I'm seeing on here now. It's great that I can see how long you've been a channel member. And again, I'm going to try to make up for the time that I've been busy by putting up stuff on Patreon every day. And hey, look at this, a new member, which I think is great. I don't get to see these that often. This is Frank. Boy, Frank, I'm sorry. Bordenave? Bordenov? I don't know. Frank, write it phonetically and I'll get it right. Thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate that. Coors Lightly, thank you. That's very kind of you and much appreciated. And Eric is a longtime viewer. I really enjoy your channel. Thank you so much. I wasn't soliciting, although I do appreciate it. People often tell me I should do a cameo or something. I mean, how stupid. I'm not famous. You know what I mean? A cameo. I also am not looking to take all of your money. If you just watch the channel, I'm happy. For the people who have to give and want to support, it's great, and I thank you, and it motivates me to get out of bed and do this. Merchandise is on the way. I'm finally home for a couple weeks to do it. I had to turn down a Stephen Piercy gig today, first one ever. I had prior commitments, and I just couldn't do it because it was just added. My job is to go where I'm told, obviously. But I am still tour managing the gig, advancing the gig, telling everyone I'm armchair tour managing. I just can't I can't do it. It's a secret show, so you probably won't even find out about it. But I can't. I have commitments, and I have family and friends and other people in my life who also, for whatever reason, like to spend time with me. I will be at the Halloween Horror Nights, Universal Studios, and next weekend, and also I will be at the H45 Halloween 45 convention. This is, if you're a horror fan or a Halloween fan, this is what you've been waiting for. My good friend Sean Clark will be here to talk about it. He's got a great channel called Malfunction. He's a little under the weather today. He will be here soon, and we'll talk about it. And there's some major announcements for that Halloween convention that they're not mine to give away. What is the shirt you're wearing? I don't know. It's some bullshit, to be honest. But I have a fashion coordinator. I don't know if I found it somewhere. So I'm going to, but thank you. And thank you for these super chats and all those things. I appreciate it. I'm going to look back now and see if I can't read some of your comments. I'll talk about Johnny Monaco briefly. Kelly is asking, she just got here, how's Johnny Monaco and everything. And Johnny's working on his new album. She said she found her soulmate. It is close to being finished. He's mixing. He's in the mixing stage. So I think he'll hear it soon. And Johnny has a new business. I can't talk about it too much, but I think I'm allowed to say he designs luggage, and he will debut some of his luggage here. Johnny's an incredibly talented guitar player and a funny guy, obviously, but he's not going to be here every week, as you've learned and seen. But he will be here from time to time, and it'll be more special. You'll enjoy your time with Johnny when he's here, and that is that. Matt Thorne is great, and Matt Thorne's wife is great as well. They're kind people. They're fun people. And I like this one, Chris. I see Sin City Photography. Don't mean this in a rude way. Who is this guy? I watched the McCoy and Nasty Suicide interviews. So I'm Chris. I'm guessing you're Finnish. And Jay pointed out that I'm a musician, a tour manager, and a celebrity interviewer. That's some of the things I've done. It's very difficult to describe what I do. I don't have just one job. the reason I have to do these live shows is to catch up and tell you guys what's going on before I forget it, because we are just so insane, and a lot of nice comments. I'm trying to read through them, but I can also start with what's up here now. Sorry for. Okay, so that's the yes, and I am also one badass scooter rider. I almost perished. How is Bitsy? Sometimes I don't say her name. I spell it because she can't spell, I don't think. Because if you say her name, she'll appear like Beetlejuice. I actually don't know where she is right now. I've pointed this out. I feed her a lot of food right before the show. Bitsy is my cat. She's a senior and keeps me happy, and somehow always makes a comeback, and also usually gets a lot of tips for the kibble fund. Well, Kelly says that me and Johnny give her hope for her or him. Kelly could go either way, name wise. A real friendship. Well, Johnny and I argue like everybody else. Lorraine asks how I'm feeling at the scooter. I'm still in pain, to be honest, and I'm getting a. I like to start working out again, but I have this pain in this side of my chest, and so I don't want to dwell too much. But as I've said, also with that and my diabetes, I'm in. Got some doctor visits ahead of me. Got to get some stuff together, but that's boring. I don't want to talk about that too much. Andy's enough. I said to Michelle, I said, "Like, that's two people off my list that I might have hated. Who else do I have a problem with?" And I couldn't think of anybody. And then somebody made a point about Blosser. Uh, you know, that's such a tough one. If Blotzer wanted to come on the show and Stephen Piercy was okay with it, I would do it. I'm putting that out there right now. Life is short. I got issues with Bobby Blotzer. Would I sweep them under the bridge? I don't know. Maybe. I don't think he would come on. I don't think he would come on. Well, thank you, Edwin. That's very nice of you. Funko collection is going crazy. Someone asking about Whatnot. Snake hips. Good question. I have a massive Whatnot auction coming up soon. We're going to be on the Whatnot channel. Link is in the description. Sign up to give you $15 off your first purchase. But I got some cool stuff. We're going to do a special Halloween auction because uh, uh, I love Halloween, and I got some cool stuff to share with you guys, and maybe some Michael Myers Halloween things that come from this upcoming event that I'm attending. You'll have to stay tuned. What about Juan? Do you have a good relationship? I would say no. I didn't really enjoy working with him. I don't think that I think he underestimated me. Well, he can come on if you want, but I'm Team Stephen Piercy, and I think that those two seem differently. I'm thinking about the metal Funkos. Yeah, Funko's calling this thing the heavy metal, whatever. I forgot the exact term for heavy metal Halloween. But then why don't they have some heavy metal pops? Don't just use the term, There's one name that somebody said in the credits that I probably wouldn't, in the comments, that I probably would not, that I probably don't care to mend fences with. All right, let's, you guys, there are two Alice Cooper Funkos. I have them, and maybe we'll have some in that auction as well. You got to stay tuned. That would be a good one. Will Piercy do more shows as RATT? I think this is my opinion. Nothing to be quoted. I think that's possible. I don't think original member reunion will ever happen, and I'm pretty confident in that this time. Whit Crane from Ugly Kid Joe would be a good guest. Yeah, I know Whit. He guested with Sin City Sinners, and maybe we could have him on here. Any chance you could do segments with great cover bands? I don't know that it would interest enough people, because you have to hear them. I don't know. Maybe Steel Panther. They're a cover band, right? Oh, Marco. Marco, great to see you. It was nice meeting you in Puerto Rico as well. And yeah, Steve and his wife are very cool. Thank you so much, Marco. It was great meeting you. Um, even though Phil Lewis and I have mended fences, I still think that Chris in the comments is a bit of an asshole. You want to hear about Kix? I'll tell you about Kix asking for questions. Kix has called it a career. Maybe it was time. They were saying themselves they were struggling. Jimmy, the drummer, who's incredible and a great person, had two heart issues. Brian had a health issue. I don't know the whole thing. Steve said his voice was harder for him. They were very honest about it. And they called it a career. That's a good thing. They did their last show. I had some friends who went. The short of it is, I personally think that Ronnie Youngkin should have been on stage the whole night. I don't think you needed the other guys. I know that no one likes Donnie Purnell in the band, the guy who wrote the songs. I get it, but maybe it would have been better to end like that. I do like that they brought Brad Divins up from the Cool Kids record. I think that was really cool. But I think that the fans wanted to see more of Ronnie Youngkins. And I reached out to Brian Forsythe to come on the show and discuss it. And maybe it'll happen. Maybe it'll happen. As of now, he's left me on red, as the kids say. Let's see. I'm getting to it. Is there really going to be a Stephen Pearcy Funko? Well, that's a business thing that I'm working on with the good people at Funko. We had a nice meeting. I can't really say much more about that for now. Let's see. Okay, this is a long one, so I'll read this live. Don't make me regret it. Jason, I know you don't care, but more great new music from classic rock artists, Duff McKagan's new song, Longfeather, Public Image Limited, End of the World, and New Stone, So Angry. I don't like any of Duff's solo music. I think it's terrible. I don't care for Shooter Jennings or any of that bullshit. And I like Duff. I'm a Duff fan. I'm a big Duff fan. But no, I'm not buying that. I don't think he's coming on anyway, but any interest in having Rhino Bucket on? Well, I had Brian Forsythe from Rhino Bucket on. I would have others. So let's see. I think Rhino Bucket's about to become more active. David was at the show. What a great career. What a great group of guys. I do agree with that. Have you interviewed Blackie Lost? Are you a fan? I'm not a massive fan. I've met him a few times. He's very pleasant. I would have him on. I was supposed to, and the person who set it up was a dummy, and it didn't happen. I'll buy a Rick James Funko for $50. Well, you'll have to tune in because we have some. Indie Cult 777. It's good to see you, Jason. With the sad state of the music industry, do you think it will right itself eventually? I.e., Joe Blow makes an AI of John Lansing, Ramones. I'm not all that hip on the AI stuff, and do I think things will get better? No. I think enjoy what you can while you can. I listen to Olivia Rodrigo. So what do I know? This heavy metal shit's not for me. I did listen to the new Olivia Rodrigo, Guts, on my flight home. I enjoyed it. She didn't rip off Paramore on this one, maybe a little Taylor Swift at times, but she's my new favorite. Not new. I've been hip to Olivia Rodrigo. I like the old stuff too. I think she's 20 now. But that's what I listen to. And I listen to this other chick. The hell is her name? Can't remember. Jason is here. Jason's going to be my producer. He might, when I tell you random things, you can then tell the other people. I also should point out that when we were stranded in New York, I went to Ulta and I tried on the new Ariana Grande perfume. It was fantastic. Anything about Kip Winger? Yeah, Kip Winger's busy and it just never gets done. I think he'll be here one day, but I think he's got other things on his mind. We're going to try Reb instead for now. Let's see. Is there a new band out there you like right now? Oh, well, besides Olivia Rodrigo, a new band. I don't know. Jason, I don't think Michelle's here, but someone who knows me can answer that. I'm just out of it. Uh, yeah, AI of Bon Scott singing back and back. I don't know. I mean, I think people will choose what they want. If you want to hear these things, give them a listen. How long have I been here? An hour and 5 minutes. I felt like I told you these deep personal stories. I felt like it took 9 hours. I hope you guys liked it. If you're watching this, and there's over 350 people watching right now, if you watched it, go into the comments and tell me. I would appreciate it. It also helps the performance of the video, blah, blah, blah. Not really into Rival Sons. I'm sure it's fine. Starcrawler, I hear a lot of people say good things about them, and The Warning is another one, but I don't know. I'm very old. Reb is great. I hope he'll be here. Reb is great. I've had great conversations with Reb. He's funny, and he's an incredible guitar player. You need a guest co-host. Well, that's coming, Skylar. That's coming. We're going to start bringing in different people each week. The goal is to have somebody sit in with me. It doesn't matter if they're famous or not, but it'd be nice to have some conversation. It's hard for me to sit here and rapid fire. Jason's going to come on at some time, even though he's not watching. Lorraine says, I appreciate the stories, but I think you know them. Well, I appreciate you, Lorraine, and for knowing that. Will Aerosmith get for their farewell? Wish I could say. Sorry, I'm getting tired. Robert Sweet interview. Very good question. Yasmin or Yasmin. I got to text them. I forget. It's my fault. Jay or Jason, one of you two, make a note, please. Good show. Hope it keeps going. Well, this show is not going anywhere. I'm going to keep it going. I'm tired, but listen, bro, this is a great podcast. Well, thank you, Russ. Appreciate that. Okay. Pretty Boy Floyd. I'll talk about it briefly. I'm a fan of Pretty Boy Floyd drama. Steve Sex Summers and Christy Crash Majors are involved in a fight to the death. I have not talked to Steve Sex Summers recently. He's been on the show twice. I have been in contact with Chris D. Crash Majors. They're both invited to come on this show at any time. Christy Crash Majors said that his lawyer doesn't want him to. He told me that he's a fan of the show and that he watches it. But right now, it's not something legally for him because he alleges publicly, not just to me, but that Steve Sex Summers has been working for 5 years. They have a partnership agreement, and he has not been paid. He also alleges that he is selling fraudulent items, claiming that there were guitars played by Chris that they were not, that signatures may have been forged, that he's using the Leather Boys lineup. Either one of them is welcome to come on here, but they are having a public fisticuffs, and it is incredibly interesting. Yes, I like Lee Majors as well. Boy, okay. Todd says Dirty Honey is a great live. Chris says guitar fraud is the worst kind of fraud. You may be right. Okay, while you're promising Reb, what about Doug Aldrich? I texted Doug Aldrich in the beginning of the show. I know him. And he didn't really write back. Not really, he didn't. But maybe now that I'm a superstar, maybe he will. So remind me, make a list. We'll do a show again where you guys tell me who you want to see. Unfortunately, I think a lot of you are going to say, excuse me, Warren DeMartini and Izzy Stradlin and all these other people. It's not Vito Bratta. Vito usually comes in super chats. I'd like to see him right now because I got to buy dinner. Yes, fame tends to do that. The whole adult theme of your career is super interesting, and I would love to see you have some of those people on. Where are they now? Yeah, the adult part of my career is a tough one to discuss because of the algorithm with YouTube. Big Brother is listening. What I'm looking to do is do a group chat with the members of my Patreon and the members of the YouTube channel, which you can go and join right now, and we can talk privately. We can talk about my career, whatever you want to know, and I don't have to worry about being censored for it. There's nothing in my career that I'm embarrassed by or ashamed of. I am an AVN award winner on the production end, and but can't always you can't always get what you want. uh, yeah. So okay. So that's that. I one day I'll tell you more. If I told you everything about my life, you would be bored. I ration it out to you. Will Vince Neil be replaced? Stupid question. I mean, if they want to be any worse than they already are, no, you can't get rid of Vince Neil. They tried it, it didn't work, and now that you don't have Mick Mars, anyway, Tour coming up is going to have Vince Neil in it. He is part of Smoking the Boys Room. He sings the lyrics. My buddy's 6. He pauses and does not say Mick, and then says Tom. It's in the video. Kind of crazy. Thoughts on Zoltan Chaney? Well, I see him constantly, so I can't say too much. He's nice to me, I suppose. I don't like the gimmick for those bands. I'm okay with it in his own bands, but I think it's distracting and I think it's silly. But he's a nice enough guy, and that's that. No Vince, no band. Motley Crue, sad story. 100%. It might be time to call it a day. How about an interview with Rex Carroll? Don't even know who that is, but if you tell me, I'll think about it. I hate to leave with 334 people. You guys ever watch these Kevin Smith things where he goes to speak at university and 2 people ask questions and that's the whole hour? That's what I like. We need a good conversation. So if somebody here has got a topic, I'm down. If not, I got to get out of here. Oh, Julie. Hi, Julie. How are you? Julie says we met in New Jersey. You're a super cool guy. Well, thank you, Julie. Remind me where we met and what we were doing. And if it's personal, please keep it quiet. Just kidding. Keith has got a funny comment. I agree. Saying the Pantera touring without Dime and Vinny. Ouch. It's a tricky one. Oh, the Pantera is such a tricky topic. I knew Vinnie Paul very well. I've told the story a million times. My band was the last band he came to see. He came to see us on a Wednesday. I believe he passed on a Friday. He was always very nice to me. Sin City Sinners did a charity show. He performed Pantera songs for the first time since losing his brother. The only reason that Vinny and I didn't spend more time together is I don't drink, so that would be rough. But he, I don't think he would approve of this reunion at all. They say otherwise. Yeah, they knew him, but he was against it. He did not want to get back together. I floated the idea of Zakk Wylde to him directly. Charlie Benante was never on my radar. Dave Lombardo of Slayer was, but Dave Lombardo was in a relationship with Rita, Dime's widow. There's a lot of things. I do believe at the end of the day, if you want to see Pantera, or this band called Pantera, the tribute, or whatever it is, then you have the right to do it. People are enjoying it, and you know what? If it makes you happy, you never got to see them, and you like the music, then I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. All right. Let's see here. William says, Pretty Boy Floyd wanted to sign your wife's breasts. I'm hoping, 1, that you were okay with that. 2, I'm hoping that they were authentic signatures. They weren't forgeries, as some are being accused of. And 3, I'm hoping your wife has nice breasts. Question from that metal guy, $4.99 as a member and a super chat. Who's been the better replacement for Janet Gardner and Vixen, Lorraine Lewis or Jenna Sars Ajero? I've never seen Jenna Jameson or Jerry, but I have seen Lorraine Lewis, and she's great. And I can't imagine anyone would do it better than her. And I would also point out that Janet Gardner approves of Lorraine Lewis, and we'll have her on the show. We can talk about it. I fall asleep to Love Boat, Carson, Letterman, and Snyder. Yeah, great. I don't watch Snyder. I do remember Love Boat at Carson and Letterman, of course. Um, if you guys want to, Greta Van, sleep, not for me. Did you get the Beatles together too? Alex apparently is one of these assholes who doesn't understand that when I tell you something, I'm just telling you. You don't want to hear it. Watch something else. I did do it. I've reunited a lot of people in my time. Did I get the Beatles together? Yes, yes, I did. Uh, anyway, if you think that I'm a blowhard and I'm talking and I'm bragging, watch somebody else. It's okay. I promise you, I could give a fuck less. If you don't want to watch, go watch something else. 336 people right now seem to be interested. I'm okay with that. Oh, this is what we needed. We needed the MFK game. The other night, I played the MFK game privately, it was Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift, and Olivia Rodrigo. You have to use your imagination. Okay, Bonnie Franklin from One Day at a Time, Mary Tyler Moore from Dick Van Dyke, and Julie from Welcome Back, Kotter. It's a good one. Obviously, all of these people are deceased, so we will have to. Julie from Welcome Back, Kotter, by the way, her name is Marsha Strassman. I've met her. I'm bragging about that in case the last asshole wants to know about it. He says he's just kidding. All right, Alex. I was just kidding when I called you an asshole. It's a tough one. I'm not all that attracted to Mary Tyler Moore. When she was in the Nun movie with Elvis, a change of habit maybe, but I think I'm gonna marry Julie from Welcome Back, Kotter. This is in their prime. Bonnie Franklin was obnoxious, and I think I'm gonna f Mary Tyler Moore. All right. See how easy that was. Okay. Oh, well, thank you. I love and thank you. Oh yeah, yeah, Bailey. Where someone just mentioned Bailey from WKRP. That's much better. Yeah, Bailey. She was hot. AZ, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. How far ahead of stage time should we come to meet you in person before you get busy working? Well, that's a nice question. Uh, I and look, I'm not trying to seem egotistical again. I enjoy meeting everybody. I enjoy taking pictures with people and sharing them, and I'm happy that you guys care. Um, when is the best time to meet me? I'm usually there walking around before the show. Um, it varies. If you message me, I'll make sure that I find you. But I'm around. I'm accessible. I like to be around my adoring public. Uh, and then Paul, the question was not Dick Van Dyke. He was saying Mary Tyler more of Dick Van Dyke. But yes, Dick Van Dyke is alive. I'm also not going to marry him. Anyway, we will meet, and I'm always at the Stephen meet and greet. That's the other thing. I am always after the show at the Stephen Pearson meet and greet. All right, sorry if that took too long. Marsha Strassman dated Hall from Hall & Oates. How cool is that? I don't know. Yeah, Jan Smithers. That's her name. Yeah, I loved Welcome Back, Kotter. It doesn't age as well, but man, it reminds me of being a kid. Is Johnny doing okay? You honky. Uh, yes, well, I talked about him earlier. He's working on a record. He has a new career in luggage design, and he'll be back. Here's a good one: Three's Company. Chrissy, Janet, Terry, or Cindy. Well, you give me too many choices. You got to give me three. Hmm. I mean, when I was a kid, I wasn't a Janet fan. I don't know. I will obviously love Chrissy, and then I liked Terry. But now in my old age, Chrissy's nuts though, and she wets the bed constantly. Maybe, but she looks incredible. That woman aged. She's '96, I believe, and looks incredible. If you had to get rid of one of these, it would be maybe Cindy. She's in good shape too and has a lot of money. I don't know. It's too much to think about. My head's gonna spin. Did you ever meet Farrah Fawcett? That I could say is a no. I wish I did. I do have some memorabilia that I got from her in my collection, but did not meet her. Michael Starr, is he cool or a dick? Michael Starr, his name is Ralph Sains. He's always been nice to me. I know him as Ralph. He's always been nice. I would not have the characters on the show. Eddie Trunk said the same thing. I think it's silly, but I like Ralph. When I see him, I'm always happy to, and he's nice, and I'm happy that their gimmick is working. It's so hot in here right now. Um, a lot of you are just talking amongst yourselves, which is okay. This is your show. Yeah, the Thigh Master. That's right. That's what you sold. Any word on the Piercy Legacy release? It's funny. I heard him say something about it, but I can't. He said it in private, so I can't tell you. But don't hold your breath. Uh, oh, Greg's going to see me at Rams Head Live. I guess that's in January. There are 4 shows in a row. Glenn Danzig, Jimmy Glenn Danzig. Good question. Yes, he was great. I've met him a few times. He invited me to a party in San Diego during the Comic Con. No one really cared about him at the Comic Con except me. I was working for Troma, and we had a long talk about horror movies and Jeet Kune Do, the martial art Bruce Lee studied. Glenn Danzig studied it with a guy named Jerry Poteet, who was one of his students. We had a great time talking about it. If you're going to get any further, which I usually happens, is I believe that Glenn Danzig was sucker punched, uh, and uh, and yeah, I like him. I had a great experience. I've heard people have had bad ones. Okay, favorite New York band, the Ramones. Easy question. Favorite. Your favorite New York band was Law and Order, I suppose. That's what you're saying. Which that's a little deep, but yes. Mark Slaughter and or Dana interviews. So I don't know how much I'm allowed to say. I'm working with those guys potentially on something, and they're not really ready to talk about it yet. And when they are, we'll promote it here and things like that. I'm being vague, but of course, you'll see Mark and Dana at some point. But there's something brewing. Halloween plans. Good question. I saw it earlier and I forgot to get it. I'm not exactly sure. I start celebrating Halloween this weekend, the following next weekend, by going to the Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios, which I love. Going to go to the Pumpkin Patch. Going to go to Spirit Halloween. I don't really care for party. My life, Halloween is in my house all year round. Behind me are the Universal Monster stamps and the Creature from the Black Lagoon. So I live Halloween all year round. A lot of people ask for John Christ. I guess I'm going to have to. If I can't get Jesus, I guess I'll settle for John. Could happen. What am I looking for here? I saw a question that I was interested in. This is an interesting one. Do you know Robert Video Bob? He says he was friends with Vinnie Paul, but I think he's full of. He seems to name drop a lot. I heard Vinnie mention him before. I don't know the extent of it, but I should kind of reach out to him since he lives here in Vegas and has an interesting job. Any chance that Jeff Tate, Krista Garmo get back with the boys in Fake Reich? I don't see that. Maybe you'll have to wait on that one. Jeff Tate's supposed to be here. Have Stephen Pearcy or RATT ever covered a song live? Don't remember seeing them do one. Walking the Dog is an Aerosmith song that was on the EP. They play that, and occasionally Stephen plays Breaking the Law. Maybe another thing coming. Occasionally he will do that. Indie Cult 777. 2 questions. Xmas Story, Xmas Vacation, and for you, Beatles or Stones. Okay, these are good questions. They're tough. Christmas Vacation over Christmas Story. Christmas Story is legendary, but it's boring. And Beatles or Stones, I always go back and forth. They're so hard to compare. Stones have had such a longer career, made more records, still touring. Stones is more the rock band. If you ask me now, I'm more into Stones. If you ask me who had the more legendary volume of work, I'd say Beatles. But I think I'm saying Stones today. I usually say Elvis over Beatles too. If you were wondering, Okay. When is the last time you played your bass? Good question. I'm going to play bass. I don't know if this is a secret or not, but at the Whiskey, I believe before before the Stephen Pearcy show. So if you get there early, you can see me play a song with a band. This is an option that's coming up a lot. A lot of people are asking me to perform with their bands and things, and I'm going to start saying yes to almost all of them. Sight unseen, good, bad, and the ugly, because I think it'll be fun for the show. I was talking to the mentor, Steve Broy. I'd like to wear one of those executioner hoods and play a tune with them. Anyway, last time I played the bass was right now. I have this thing called trigger finger. Johnny Monaco had it too. Allegedly, it damaged his career with Enough's Enough. But I only pick. I don't do the finger thing. Matt Thorne's going to be on here soon. We're going to talk bass. A lot of bass talk to be had because I got a lot of opinions on bass players. Okay, Lorraine, you should come out, Lorraine. That show's going to be special. There is something planned for the first time that hasn't been seen before. Can't really say much. And then on top of that, you get to see me. So wait till you get to 100 subs when I play. Yeah, well, I like it. I think it's a fun gimmick. When I worked for Troma, Lloyd Kaufman said, if you send me a plane ticket, I'll appear in your movie. Any movie. I'll do that too, by the way. I was an actor before I was whatever I am now. Douchebag or whatever I am. But yeah. So if you guys want me for something, and of course we'll promote it here, I'll do it because I think it'd be funny to do a lot of things. Okay, we're working on it. And Edwin, his uncle served with Elvis. How cool is that? Yeah, well, thank your uncle for his service with Elvis. If you had to pick one, DAD, Vain, or Love Hate, I pick Love Hate. It's the one I'm most familiar with. And Vain guy has been a pain in my ass. What do you think of the band Him? I like it a lot. I'm a fan. I'm definitely a fan of him. Yeah, it's on my Spotify, and I don't care if the artists don't get paid fairly. I still listen to it. Yes, it will be good to see Matt. He will be here. Maybe next week. See what he's got in his schedule. I'm going to get out of here in a few minutes. It's been an hour, 27 minutes, and 54 seconds. I'm a little out of it, and I hope you've enjoyed this show. I'm trying to get to these. What is Blas Elias doing these days? He plays in a show called Raiding the Rock Vault, sometimes here in Vegas. When he's not doing that, he tours with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, TSO, in the winter 8 months. And I think one day he will be back in Slaughter. That's not for me to say, but I think it would happen. Were you a fan of the Munsters? Of course. Wonder Woman or Bionic Girl? Wonder Woman. Would Steven do his cover of Girls on Film live? I don't think so. As I said many times on the show, it's RATT. It's about RATT. This is it. This is your last chance to hear RATT. I don't think you want to hear cover songs. Whatever happened to Mandy Lyon of WW3? I was going to perform in a band with Mandy Lyon right before the pandemic. And we were working on songs, and I was learning them, and we were going to play, and he had a record, and I liked the songs, and I don't know what happened to it, and I don't know. Maybe he'll be here one day. Yeah, speaking about the style of music I play is 16th notes and things like that, and it's down picking and it's fast, and that's why I do that. Okay. When will you next have a podcast? I think you mean when will there be an interview? And the answer, I did not say no legacy. That is not true. That's a misquote. I said I don't hold your breath. What's the question you just asked me? Co-host. Oh, next interview. Yeah, I don't. Probably next week. I have lined up this week sign up for Patreon if you want to ask the guests questions. That's going to be a big thing now. And David, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, for the super chats and the support. If you'd like to, what happened to Donnie Parnell and Kicks? I don't have another hour for this one. Donnie Parnell wrote the songs. They think he made really bad career moves. They all say he was a jerk. When they got back together, it was only under the condition that he was not in the band. That's the quick version, and he wasn't at the reunion, obviously. I haven't seen it in the Travelers. Does Steven warm up before the shows? Yeah, he eats a little hot salsa. He drinks some coffee and maybe yells a little bit. That's about it. What's your favorite bass? Fender P bass. For me, it's the only bass. Flea is a better bass player than Nikki Sixx. I would agree. There's a lot of stuff here that I can talk about another day. Oh, the Bitsy Kimball Fund. Kara, thank you. I don't know if it's Kara or Kara. I hate to say it wrong, but thank you for that. Yeah, I don't know what the hell Bitsy is. I showed you guys. I think she's sleeping. But yeah, otherwise. Zoltan Chaney, for an interview, I sort of hinted at it, and he didn't seem all that interested. Hi, Desmond. Nice to see you. What do you think of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Listen, the building itself is great. The exhibits are great. It's much more varied than you think. They even have dead boys and stuff like that. They are from Cleveland. But it's great. It should be called the Music Hall of Fame, maybe because of all the hip hop and other things. I like seeing all of it. I think it's great. Jan Winter obviously is an idiot. He was always an idiot. Rolling Stone magazine is a shitty publication. The fact that they think Bob Dylan and Yoko Ono ever had the record of the year, it shows you how stupid that they put the Boston guy on the cover. They're idiots. So screw him and his racist comments and blah, 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 blah. I don't even know what this says. What's your favorite speaker of all time? Don't know what you're talking about. So ask me again. Let's see. I see people sometimes go, how come Steven won't play them solo songs? Because you're one out of a million. You know, I mean, they're good songs, but people want RATT. That's what they're here to see. And there will never be a RATT again. So that's the only place you're going to hear them. That's the answer to that. Wall of Shame, of course. I'd love to hear your thoughts. We'll save that for next time. I'm skipping some of these things. Any news on the Bellas? Chad, the Bellas are on the next tour diary. I'll give you a hint. They come to see Steven, and then when Vince Neil plays, I take the Bellas to the fair, and we go for snacks. I spoke to Abby yesterday. I call her Abby Bella. I call them all Bella. And they are working on a new single. They have a gig coming up. Follow them, and they're very funny in the next tour diary, which you're going to see tonight. Blah, 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 if you remember. How about an interview with Stanley, Life, Sex, and Death of the Band? Alex Kane could possibly come on. This is a topic we've talked a lot about. Johnny knows Stanley. Stanley came to see Stephen Pearcy. I don't think he wants to break the character. It is a character. Okay. Tris, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Great to see you still loving the tour diaries. Keep coming. There are so many tour diaries on the way. It's no joke. If you like them, the next one is an hour. The one after that's an hour 10. And I still have 7, 8 more. There is so much ahead. So please like, comment, subscribe, become a member. It helps. I saw you at the York Fair at the Bellas. I was heading out. Yes, thank you, Randy. Yes, but don't tell everybody about that. Oh, asking about speakers. I wouldn't even know. I don't have any speakers. All right. I'm becoming fatigued. There's over 300 people. You guys are so great. Hey, Lisa, where's Lisa? Lisa, I wanted to talk about you. You're a new Patreon member. Thank you so much. I met Lisa at the Rainbow Bar and Grill, and then she was at the Whiskey, and we had such a fun time, her and her husband. And whenever someone would come into the room that I make fun of on the show, Lisa would be the first one to run up and talk to me about it. Lisa, we'll talk more. You know so many different funny things. All right. Some people are stupid. I talked about Blue Ridge last time. All right, I'm getting out of here. Guys, thank you so much for watching. This Friday, new tour diary. Those of you who sign up will watch it now. We're getting back into the time where Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays will be active until I go back on the road. And I wish I could stay and answer everything. Come in earlier next time, and we'll do that. Thank you again. All right. I hope you have a good night and a pleasant